Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody around the world, hello, welcome to the hottest show on YouTube and everywhere around the globe. Go watch your boy. Oh, wait a minute. Where's that? Where am I at? There we go with me. Shout out, watch, make some noise. Clap it up, get excited. Wherever you are, we are back. Yes, indeed. Oh, we got the needs of the people met right here on this show. We back with the hottest show in all the globe. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another event. Welcome everybody tuning in to the greatest show in the land, the Welch Report. We got boxing. We got boxing. You know what? We got primarily boxing because we might not even cover the NBA like we normally do, trying to split topics. My goodness, within the span of one day, everything seems like it's changed in the landscape of the boxing world with retirement, with potential mega fights coming up. Two of them, to be completely honest, and the reactions of the boxing world are now all in a frenzy and a tizzy. Everybody is legitimately up in arms over what potentially we are getting ready to witness come, a couple months, if I'm being completely honest, and there's a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And if you already are here, leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Absolutely. This show is phenomenal. This show is incredible. And it's all thanks to you and your support for making it happen. And again, share it with everybody that you can to get the algorithm or get everybody to want to tune into what we got going on. Because trust and believe, we're going to have some great topics. And don't forget, we also got the championship rounds. When the championship rounds come at the end of the show, anything that you all want to discuss, whether it's on topics that we already talked about and or beyond, hey, whether it's sports, whether it's boxing, basketball, football, video game, don't matter to me. If I can talk about it, I'll be about it. And if not, hey, I'll say we're going to have to pass on. But whatever the case may be, the floor is yours and the show turns into a multi-diverse community type of event. Oh, yes, indeed. And everybody can have their say and we can have our conversations and debates. Absolutely. Oh, and don't forget, while you're in the chat, go ahead and leave your comments, leave your opinions, your debates, your thoughts as what we have going on, and we'll pick them out and we'll talk about it on the show. We are closing in on nearly 1,600 subscribers, so we are vastly approaching the threshold of, hey, we're building up, we're getting bigger, we're getting better, we are growing thanks to this community, thanks to all of you supporting the show. So yes, indeed, clap it up for yourself, clap it up for all of you up. My gosh, it's phenomenal what we built together. But again, all that stuff aside, sure, we got community, absolutely. But doggone it, what we care about is the content. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? And since we care about the content, well, it's time to talk about boxing. And since we're talking about boxing, it is time to step into the ring. That's right. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of this show going underway. Get your coffee, get your drinks ready, because ladies and gentlemen, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. And first and foremost, well, we might as well just talk about what we think is wholeheartedly going to happen. Canelo versus Crawford. Oh yes indeed. That's the first topic we're going to discuss. It is happening, or allegedly it's getting ready to go through. Based on everything that we're hearing, based on everything that happened after the Ring Magazine event that Turkey Al Sheikh and all the other promoters and boxers had over in Saudi Arabia, which, again, phenomenal to bring him back, the Ring Magazine, to his former glory. Legitimately, I love that. But regardless to which, the news coming out of today is that the rumblings are indeed stirring, and it is indeed looking like it's going to be a legitimate thing, that the fight between Canelo and Crawford will be a go this year. Oh yes, it looks like it's gonna happen. Now I'll get into the details as to why that will be the case, but let's get into the comments first and foremost of what you all have to say on the docket for all the news that we have, or your speculations, reactions, and just saying what's up on the stream. Let's see what y'all got to say. Hey, yo, Lloyd, what's going on with the? Appreciate you joining in on the show. Yes, indeed, glad you're here. Glad you're coming through. Salute to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in to the show. You're the Kingy. What's up going on, man? How you doing? Glad to get back. Glad you came to the community. We started on time. Yes, indeed. We told y'all 12 o'clock. We started about 12:08, 12:09. Well, actually, no, we got the thing running up at about 12:05. Give some people time to tune in. But, oh, yes, indeed. We are doing it at 12 o'clock. That's the time to give us the maximum amount of effort for everybody to come in, whether you're on their job, on their break, or just join the leisure. You can come in and join the show. This looks like it's the best time, so we're going to keep it at that. Absolutely. But you're not interested in the Canelo versus Bud fight anyway. Really? My gosh. Are you? What? You know what? I'm going to ask you why, but let me go first into what everybody else has to say. The fight with an excuse built in like Bud was too small. It's never a legit fight to me. Okay, see, we can touch on it. That is a great talking point. And I can address that, why I feel this fight is different if this does indeed take place, and why I don't think this would diminish, again, in my humble opinion, the ramifications of what this fight will be for either fighter, at least for me. But I'll break it down later on the show. My boy, what's going on with that? Thank you for joining in and tuning in to the show. Glad y'all back. Glad y'all tuning in all the way from across the world. Oh yeah, we're global, ladies and gentlemen. We got people from India, from the Middle East, from Asia. Don't matter where, the Philippines. We are a global show. We're small, but brother, we're diverse and we are mighty, and we're going to grow. And when we do grow, everybody's going to want to tune in to what we got going on right here in this community. Boxing nerd, what's up with that? How you doing? Glad that you're tuning in. Crawford might get KO'd. Oh yes, indeed, it's a possibility. And again, we once the fight fully gets announced, we're gonna have a whole show dedicated to a complete breakdown of each fighter. Oh, trust and believe. I'm waiting on the day we get an official public announcement. But again, speculatively, we can infer stuff's getting ready to go on. But you think he's going to get knocked out? Very interesting. And I can understand why. But hey, you love the show. Hey, I'm glad y'all love the show. I'm glad y'all tune in to what we got going on. Again, we're more than just a boxing show. But boxing has been one of the biggest things that's been taking over the blow up, so we're gonna give y'all what you want, absolutely. And since that's the case, I'm glad you enjoy the content. Hopefully you keep on checking out the shorts, sharing the show, rewatching it, and get time to learn, to grow, to get a new perspective. You ain't gotta agree, completely fine. We all are for debates and conversation, but we want you to be more a well-informed fan, whether you're a casual, whether you are a hardcore fan, or what are you just getting into, what are you just tuned in and you don't know what the world's going on. This is the show for you. Oh yes, indeed. Don't matter where you are in the landscape of sports as a whole. We invite everybody, all communities, every type of person, creed, or color. Everybody's welcome right here on the show. So thank you for tuning in. Glad you like it. And I be cooking your favorite fighter. Wait a minute. Now hold on. I don't cook Boots. I don't cook anybody. I simply point out what is the logical understanding for the context of the situation. Again, I want everybody that I talk about that seems like in a negative light, I got to keep it unbiased. Again, I got to do my due diligence for you, the fans. We got to keep everything as fair as it can be. I love Boots. I love Tank. I love Canelo. That doesn't change the fact that they aren't doing what they're supposed to do as the quality of fighter that we know that they are. Well, then why in the world would I, as a favorite or as a fan of them, let them slide, not with them achieving what they can achieve? That'd be like me saying, I love LeBron. LeBron, why are you just coasting instead of actively doing everything you can? That'd be like saying, hey, LeBron, you're 40. Oh, you should be, we shouldn't give all the overarching weight because of the age. Only people pass on in their career, not die, but pass on. So it's time to turn over a new leaf and get ready to retire. Understandable. However, if we see that you can still perform at a high level, we should still call on you to do as much as you can. That's what we do with the boxing and with everybody. At least I try to keep it as fair as possible. So I don't cook, I critique, but with the goal of pushing them forward. That's all I'm asking for. But again, all that out the way, since we talk about critiquing, well, let's talk about speculation. Because ladies and gentlemen, like we said in the show, we have to talk about Canelo and Crawford, and it looks like that fight will indeed happen. Now that we got all the introductory comments out the way, let's jump right into the fight, shall we? Yes, indeed, it looks like from the grand landscape of the boxing world that Crawford and Canelo are, in fact, happening. Now, again, like with Kiki and other comments and other fans around the world, it is diverse, but there is no denying that whether you want the fight, whether you don't want the fight, it is indeed one of the most high-profile fights that we have in boxing, period. That is unequivocal. That is an absolute statement. That's an absolute fact. Everybody's going to want to tune in to see this fight. And when will it happen? That's one of the biggest questions of the night. At least until we get an official announcement. Well, from what I can gather, speculatively, it could happen by September. Now, what I have learned, again, reading through, going through the notes, going through all of the outlets that are posting updates on this fight, as well as other people, they have more inside sources than me. I understand. I'm not as well connected as others, but we still as reputable as you can ever find anywhere in the globe. But when it comes to when this fight will happen, it would be September. Most likely, if it was at the quickest. The almost accelerated rate that this could happen would be May and on Cinco de Mayo. And if that did happen, if we got Crawford and Canelo on Cinco de Mayo, on one of the biggest, not just Mexican holidays, but on essentially Canelo Day, you want to talk about box office appeal, that would be preposterous if that event did take place. One of the biggest events nigh in boxing history, at least in the modern day era. It would rival, shoot, anybody. Name anybody. Don't matter. In the modern day, name anybody. And it would most likely rival any of the major fights that we've seen. That would most likely break some records. I can almost guarantee, but excuse me while I take a sip of my lemon water today. Got to stay hydrated, as we do on the show. I ain't ashamed of it. Doggone, I'm talking as quick as lightning. I got to make sure I keep my voice well run. That's what we got to do. But again, with all this being the case, when it comes to this fight, now we're looking at possibility turning to reality. Dream turning into a legitimate circumstance. And Warlock, brother, glad you're here. Glad you're tuning in. What's good with that? How are you doing? I'm glad that you're joining into the show. We got so much to talk about. And again, but here's the question. Now that you're here, great. Here's the question I would like to hear in the comments, in the chat, wherever you're amongst yourselves. Think about it. Would it be better if this fight happened in May or in September? And there's a reason why, in your opinion. If you got it, comment it. If you don't, you feel free. Just thinking about it. Would you like this rather in May? Or would you rather have this in September? Or would you rather have it later in the year in December? Now, the reason why I'm asking this question is because on the side of Crawford, it is important. It is drastically important that we understand what will be the best for Crawford in this fight, if regardless of whether you want the fight or not. And we're going to break down whether people want the fight. But if you indeed want the best fight out of Terrence Crawford for what looks to be an incredibly lofty goal to fight Canelo and beat him, let alone beat him. If that is indeed the case, would you rather have him fight in May on one of the biggest events of the year, or wait to fight potentially in September, allegedly, if that's one of the goal dates, or even further down the line, like November or December, end of this year? The reason why I ask that is because depending on the time, most likely affects the likelihood of how likely, or rather how much of a possibility it is that we can see Crawford actually beat Canelo, at least in my eyes. Now, that's the case because will he just jump into the deep end, or will he slowly work his way up? And which one would be smarter? Which one would suit his capabilities the best to best prepare? Because again, right now, again, until we get an official date, now, we don't know when it's going to happen. But it's looking like it is ramping up. Talks between Crawford and Canelo seem to be going well. Turkey Al Sheik has been saying, not just saying that he wants it, but has been posting pictures with both of them. All the cryptic social media tweets about what he's getting ready to do all throughout the year. One of the biggest boxing schedules that he says that he's going to be able to put out is going to be something to remember. All his words, understandable. So it looks like everything is lining up to be a phenomenal year of boxing. But specifically, the biggest reason why that is put out is because Crawford and Canelo looks like it is actively going to happen. And so the question is now when? If it happens in May, Crawford's going to get knocked out. If it happens in May, Crawford's getting knocked out. Plain and simple. If it happens in September, Crawford most likely will have a better shot, but may still lose. But if it happens in December, now we got a little bit of a question. Now we got a little bit of trepidation in the likelihood of Canelo winning. Because reason being, with Crawford moving up so drastically, so quickly, will this be something that will be bad for his body? With the fight, again, I'm not saying, yes, he hasn't fought since Madrimov. I get it. But even still, immediately fighting at 168 as your first fight can be daunting. Would it be better if he went the route of going and actively taking time, especially if it happens in September, rather than in May, to go and take a fight at 160 or a lesser fight at 168? Go, show himself, prove himself, not even prove himself, just get accommodated. And then, now you're ready for Canelo. Because now you've gotten used to what it means to move at the higher weight. Again, just a question for you all. But with all this being the case, I would hope it's September and or December. Because if I want to see Crawford actually have the ability to win, because again, we have people in the comments and people around the world saying that, yeah, there's no interest in this fight. There's no interest in what we got going on. There's no interest in Crawford and Canelo. And the reason being, again, like Kiki said, others have the same notion. Built-in excuses. Bud was too small. It's not a legit fight in some people's eyes. And again, Kiki, I completely understand. But let's address this, shall we? Would this fight be that the excuses would overshadow what the event is? The excuse would overshadow the win. If Canelo won, hypothetically, we know the ramifications of what happens if Crawford wins. Yeah, we've already covered that. My goodness, if Crawford wins this fight, yeah, everything's going haywire. We got some problems here. We got, yes, JR. Yes, Jim Ross. We got some problems. We got some major problems in the world of the shake-up landscape of boxing in the all-time ranks. Absolutely. We get what Crawford means to the ramifications of history if he goes and wins this. But for Canelo, I wouldn't say that this is a bad fight with built-in excuses. Again, this goes back to the Jermall Charlo situation that we talked about. We talked about Jermall Charlo on this show. We talked about Jermall Charlo in that fight with Canelo. How he laid down, how he didn't try, how he didn't even attempt to go and fight, how he simply let himself loose, was content with surviving, taking a check, and moving his butt on. He felt the power, and then after that didn't try to do anything to adapt, didn't try to do anything to overcome, didn't try a semblance of notion in terms of Charlo to aptly go and affect the fight against Canelo. Again, he turned into a cub. He turned into a pup. He turned into a pet. That's not, it's not me trying to go in and berate him. That's what happened. That's what we witnessed. That's the bold-faced truth. That regardless of whether you like him or hate him, it's the bold-faced truth of the matter. He went and let himself loose willingly, without even attempting to do anything. Yes, Canelo was better in every way, but Charlo didn't even attempt to make a fight out of a situation, especially at the round one. Crawford, because that's not going to happen, this is a man who we have, the consensus is, if anybody could make an adaptation to be able to go and move up and achieve this level of greatness outside of Usyk and Inoue, it would be Terrence Crawford. That's the truth. Because he's shown it on a constant basis with how he's dominated opponents all throughout his entire career. The way he stepped up when it seems like, oh man, he's getting beat. All of a sudden, the gear switches, and then, oh yeah, it's clear cut. Who's the better man? He's got that ability. He's carried his power all the way through. His speed has been there. His chin has always been there. His IQ of the best in the world. He's got everything, and he's got the intangible internal ability to build himself up and keep himself from failing himself that many boxers lose when they get in trouble. Let's be perfectly frank. Everybody doesn't have the mental fortitude that Terrence Crawford has. But again, brother was shot in the back of the head and then still kicking. He's faced in life circumstances. He's faced everything. The brothers went through everything. And he's still such a dog. So poised and composed, yet will be able to throw his rage out. And whenever he throws his rage out, it's never losing himself, but it loses the opponent. because they all succumb. Every last one of them. It's been a constant thread for Crawford that if anybody can do it, it would be him. So I wouldn't say that there's a built-in excuse for this fight, because for this fight, the ramifications are too big. And outside of David Benavidez, this is the fight that fans want to see. Even if it's a lofty goal, this is the fight that fans want to see. Let's be genuine. This is the fight that fans want to see. And if we're perfectly honest, let's compare it to another division, shall we? Let's compare it to another division. If we had, again, hypothetical. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Excuse me, we got more people. We got more people coming on the show. Wait a minute. Oh, Miss Circle, how you doing? What's going on with the glad that you're joining in to the show? The Watchable with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Yes, indeed, it's a phenomenal experience that you are here. I'm so glad that you joined in, took time out your day to join in on this show. Also, remember, leave a like on the channel, leave a like on the stream if you would, if you like what you're hearing, if you're entertained, if you got your morning or afternoon or whatever, wherever you are at, whatever you're doing at this time of day. If this is brightening your day, oh, absolutely, leave a like, share the love as we give the love to you, absolutely. But let's see what you got to say. The fight is not happening. It's a fake notice. So you think that this is fake. Some people think it's not going to happen. Others believe that this is all a farce. It's all a ruse. It's all, it's like, not Magneto, Mysterio. Or Mysterio. Yeah, no, is it Mysterio? Yeah, Mysterio from the comics. Not WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. Again, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Arguably the greatest luchador in history. But again, that's all my wrestling nerdiness is coming out. Let me quell it a little bit. People may say it's fake. And it could potentially not happen. Absolutely. There's a whole possibility this could happen. This could absolutely not happen at all. This could go along the wayside of just not possible. All of this is just hype for an event that ultimately fails our expectations. That's been the normal expectation in the reality of boxing. Let's be perfectly frank. When it comes to the world of boxing, consistently we have been let down. Have we not? Have we not? Have we not? Have we not been consistently let down, led astray, run amok, deceived, but taken advantage of? Got the wool pulled over our eyes when it comes to this sport of boxing, when we think something great is going to happen. It is no issue that you have that sentiment. I completely understand. But look at it from this perspective. With what we have going on now, specifically under the banner of Turki Al-Sheikh, now we're looking at a situation where we have a fighter who wants to fight. Another big conglomerate in the form of Canelo, who is himself a mogul, himself a business, that almost didn't want to come to the table because he had too much power, looked like he had too much power because he was the face of boxing. Is the face of boxing. But now with Turki Al-Sheikh in the middle, the man that has done all these other mega fights, both cross-promotional and legitimate, whether it's Ngannou and Joshua, Ngannou and Fury, whether it's Bivol Beterbiev, whether it's AJ versus Otto Ali, whether it's Bivol and all the other undercards that he had in the main events that was going on throughout the events and realities. The same man who's put out on the undercard of Bivol versus Beterbiev 2, one of the greatest cards in history, started off by Big Bang Jang versus Caballero. One of the co-main events, Shakur Stevenson versus Floyd Schofield. Are you kidding me? This is a man who has proven time and time again he's been a man of his word. He will keep stuff together if indeed it is worth making. He has made undisputed fights. He's made unification. He's gotten us major fights that we thought wouldn't happen, like Dubois versus AJ. All of this stuff has transpired because Turkey has essentially got all the money in the world. Yes, but he's been consistent with doing the model that everybody wants to see, which is the model of the UFC. That's the biggest thing. Turki Al-Sheikh is doing the model of the UFC. He's doing the motto of the UFC. The very thing that everybody loves, which is the best fighting the best on a constant basis, step up after step up, immediately, or as close to immediately as possible. It was going to happen. It was going to happen. Again, we just had Madrimov potentially fighting Boachuk and Virgil Ortiz within 3 months of each other. We hadn't seen a potential like that in who knows how long. And the movements of that, with fighters coming under him and legitimately moving like we want them to move, it's had ripple effects throughout the entirety of the boxing landscape. Everybody as a fighter starting to look at the sport different. And they want these fights to happen. Now that there's a man that can actually make these fights happen, that can go above and beyond what the promoters have been doing, which, if I'm being completely honest, hasn't been much with how they've gone about going through and making these fights, building stuff up for oh so long until it inevitably falls and we never get in the first place. Like with potentially Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And we'll get to Tyson Fury, absolutely. But we're looking at a landscape of, while I get your sentiment, this is not something that we can say is just likely, and most likely it won't happen. No, this is possible. This is real. This is legitimate. There's a high, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is the first time I can say this with confidence. There is a high probability that we will see Crawford versus Canelo this year. I will be lenient and say late this year, because again, we don't know what may happen. But all signs at this point in time from every single camp, from what we see with Terrence Crawford saying, what we see with Canelo saying, what we see with Turki Al-Sheikh saying, everybody seems to be on the same page of it's about a done deal, or at least we're getting close to it. Some reports say it's done already. Some reports say it's getting close to it, but everything across the board is saying we're good to go. We are A-OK. We are making progress. And that's all we wanted. That's legitimately all we wanted. And now that we're getting it, thank goodness, finally, we get it to happen. Now, last thing before we move on to Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia and whether that fight is getting ready to happen, if we saw Canelo win, what are your thoughts on the impact of it? Would it be like Kiki has said, that no, this wouldn't be a situation that would really mean anything? And do you think that this is something that is, how do we say, not legitimate? Because in the words of him, again, appreciate you coming through, the fight has a built-in excuse. And Bud Small, it won't be legit. Is there going to be a situation where if Canelo did win, would you feel that this fight wouldn't be legit? Would you feel that this fight wouldn't be something that is worthwhile? Oh, and also, how you doing? Andrew Charles, what's good with you? How you doing? Glad that you're joining in on the show. What's up? We are talking about Canelo versus Crawford and how that fight looks to be now almost a done deal on all parts, and potentially with reports, when I'm gathering together, by September and or potentially late December this year, we could see the fight happen. I'm so excited and I'm ecstatic. I'm all in a tizzy because it's great for me. It's great for everybody. But now we're asking the question, when we look at the landscape of Crawford versus Canelo, do you feel that if Canelo wins, it won't be held as a legitimate win? Similar to Charlo versus Canelo. Now, I've already said how I feel about it. I've already said that I think it's legitimate. But I want to hear, if you have any arguments, what do you think about it? And do you feel that it is something that will be held against Canelo? It will be something that won't be deemed as a high win on the side of Canelo Alvarez, if it indeed did take place. And the stakes aren't really what the public is potentially making it out to be. In your mind. Again, you don't got to comment right now. We can talk about it later on in the show. But just as a question to pose to you, I don't think that's the case. You may feel that's the case. But ultimately, it all comes down to, again, speculating the inside of your mind. But ultimately, does it come down to how do you view Terrence Crawford? Do you view him as an anomaly? Or do you view him as a great fighter up to a point? That's the ultimate question for how you're going to view this fight in terms of the validity of the, legitimacy of the win on either side of the phone. Because if you view Crawford as an anomaly, then you view this fight as, yeah, this is legitimate. There's nothing to be said. Everybody wants to see it. The only other fight bigger for Canelo is Canelo versus David Benavidez. And who Crawford is the only man that we can see can actually pull off something like this. And Canelo beating Crawford would be something that is great. If you agree and believe. But if you don't, you would view Crawford as a man who he's great and is phenomenal. But he's not that great that he can overcome something so insurmountable from a weight and size perspective. There are limits to what you can achieve, again, in some people's minds. There are limits to what your body and what your ability can take you to. There's weight classes for a reason. You can be as lofty as you want to. There's some situations where you just have no business being in the slightest. None. And you may use Jermell Charlo as a means to say, look at what happened. This is exactly why you don't do those types of things. This is exactly why you don't attempt to go and make these types of outlandish moves that are well above what you are actively capable of in the minds of some fans. Not that you aren't great, but that your greatness does indeed have a cap. And you're pushing yourself to a point that it's ludicrous. Almost, again, stupid. Not stupid in a good way that you're chasing greatness, but stupid in a bad way that you are looking for an accolade that you have no business trying. And it's laughable that you're attempting. That's what some perspectives may have. I'm not saying it's you. I'm saying that's how a thought process can be. For somebody to come to the reasoning of why a fight wouldn't be so grandiose. Some people bring up that Tank is bringing up Lamont Roach, and we hate that fight. We despise that fight. And that's only a 5-pound difference, let alone a 20-pound difference for 150, or nearly a 20-pound difference for 154 to 168. Preposterous. Ridiculous, would you not say? And if we see Lamont Roach as ludicrous, there's no, even though, yes, he is a champion, but has no business being at 135 fighting against somebody of the likes of Gervonta Davis. Too small, won't be able to take the punishment. And moving up, the brother's going to get caught and hurt bad. Why is this fight even happening? Spectacle, or in this case for Tank, easy catch grab. No legacy at all. Nothing, you're not trying. You're not trying. You're looking for a payday and nothing more. That's how some people think when it comes to this fight, as to why they deem it as the excuses that can be put in place on top of the context surrounding the fight, on top of who we actually want him to see that can give him a true test on an equal playing field. Can make them see all of this as just, no point. That's how some people look at it. Me, I don't. But we'd love to hear from you. Whatever you feel about the situation. But now, with all that being covered, just to give you insight in the mind of other fans around the globe, detractors and favorers of this fight, now that we've covered that out the way, we can now go into the world of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. And ladies and gentlemen, we were ecstatic, and I'll be perfectly frank. This is why I put out the community post that we got some breaking news coming into the world of boxing, and this was a show you don't want to miss. This was the why. More than anything, this was the what? Because what I had initially come up here to say was that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, it is a done deal. It is happening. It is absolutely going forth this year, and Devin Haney's dropped the lawsuit. They're going through testing. Everything's going good, and come sometime this year, they've already agreed to it. We are set and ready. The rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney is a go. The ban is lifted. There's no more conditions to be met. Ryan Garcia's back. Devin Haney's back. And they're facing off against each other one more time. That is what I was ready to say. And man, I was so excited. I was through the roof. I was through the moon. I was ecstatic that was going to happen. Brother, I was incredible. I had to contain my excitement. This was the time. This was the fight. This was the rematch. Get it back in blood. Let's get it on. Drop the lawsuit. Forget all that stuff. Do what you got to do to show that it was true, that the drugs is what made you lose in this fight. That's what we wanted. And I thought we had it. And I was ready to lead it off with the show. But now we got some issues. We got some what?
Hey, look at this. We got some problems here. We got some problems here.
We got some problems. We got some problems now. Because as much as reports were saying, Turkey, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, all met around Ring Magazine, around that whole event, talked, went through. We thought that the reports had said initially, dropped the lawsuit yesterday. Reports had said initially that the fight was going forward. Now, looks like there's still a holdup because of VADA testing on the side of Ryan Garcia. Per the words of Devin Haney, again paraphrasing, but Devin Haney essentially said Ryan still doesn't want to go through the VADA testing. If he doesn't go through that, that's the biggest holdup as to why this fight happened. He goes through and it capitulates. Now, everything's all well and good, and we get stuff going. So, we were, again, on the edge of our seat. Now we got to sit back and calm down a little bit. Is this really a fight that is going to happen at all? Because now we can say, at least at this point in time, that no longer is my reality, or rather my sentiment, that Devin Haney wanting to fight Ryan Garcia or is scared of Ryan Garcia. I can no longer say that's the case. Because now he's been public saying that he wants to rematch. Now he's been public saying that he wants something to go on. Now he's been public directly addressing why the fight isn't happening at this stage in time. Initially, when he had said, again, over Twitter, well, I guess you're not a duck, you're a goose. I'll see you soon. Which alleged, okay, the fight's going forward. We're making it happen. So seemingly, in terms of the willingness to fight Ryan Garcia, it is there. We no longer get to say that he is scared of Ryan. Now, does he still think that he can win? I don't know. Is it still lingering in the back of his mind what that fight did to him? Potentially. But in terms of what is happening, Crawford, or excuse me, not Crawford, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, right now, it looks like it's on the cusp. But the ball is in Ryan Garcia's courts for how he goes about this testing. So essentially, do you think that he'll go through it? Do we think he'll go through it? Do we think that he'll go through the whole of VADA or whatever other drug capitulation or drug commission that goes over the testing for this fight? If it indeed does go through, will he accommodate you? Will he go through it? Because allegedly, it's 365. Every day, 24/7, any given point in time, you are susceptible to getting tested. That's the only thing that's holding up this fight. That happens, that gets agreed upon, allegedly, based on what we see with all the reports, we're good to go. If not, there is a holdup. So it's confirmed that they want it to happen. It's confirmed, just about, that they've gone through the process of talking through what needs to happen to make it happen. The only thing that ain't been confirmed, and unless it's broken right now and I haven't gotten the news, the only thing that has not been confirmed, is what Ryan Garcia is going to do if the ball is indeed in his court for whether or not the drug, essentially the drug testing for this fight will be capitulated by him or not. And if it is, great. If not, oh boy, we are going to have some issues. And that brings up a whole new can of worms for if he doesn't want to do testing. Now that shines the wrong light on everything we were saying about the drugs that he had taken, or aspirin that he was taking, during the first fight with Haney. Now that brings up a new level of perspective, new level of potential questioning. Maybe Ryan Garcia doesn't want. Nobody really wants, to be perfectly honest. That is something that I, again, right now, won't get into at this point, unless y'all want to get into it. But at this point in time, all roads lead to, we got two major fights on the cusp of happening. Just a matter of, will they happen? One. And two, if they do fall out, whose fault is it going to be? I don't think Crawford and Canelo is going to fall out. But with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, that fight looked like all of a sudden it was happening right then and there. But now, there's a little muddying in the work. I'm less likely to say that it's confirmed. I'll say it's likely, but it's not confirmed at this stage right now. But now that we got all that out of the way, last thing for the boxing segment of the show, Tyson Fury. Oh, yes, indeed. Tyson Fury. And for those who didn't know, just a couple of days ago, and everything happened around the same weekend of the Ring Magazine whole, essentially, ball that was taking place. But Tyson Fury's retiring. Let's rip the bandit off. Tyson Fury has retired yet again. Tyson Fury has yet again said that he is done with the sport. He is walking away. He is moving on with his life. Now, did I not say that this was going to happen? Did I not tell you initially that this was going to take place and that Tyson Fury would indeed retire when it came down to making or going through with the rest of his career after Usyk? Did we not say on this show that it is entirely likely that if we see Tyson Fury, go through and lose this fight, that it's gonna be he forget fighting anymore. Forget it. Forget going through trying to achieve more. Forget trying to go and get back in the ladder, climb back up the mountain, go fight AJ, all that stuff. Those are fights we want to see. Forget all of it. Because it ain't happening. Because he's most likely ending after this. Because at this point for him, what else does he have to prove? What else is there for him to show the world that he is as a heavyweight? What else is there for him to show for the legacy that he's left off? Especially now that he is no longer seen as the best heavyweight of this era. He's not. After this loss to Usyk, there is no question at all as to who's the best person and the baddest man on the planet at the heavyweight division and the true king of the giants, which in this day and age is Usyk, who is the smallest of them all. It's preposterous. Usyk is a walking contradiction for what the representation of heavyweight boxing has been over the past couple years. Excuse me. From Klitschko to AJ to Fury to Wilder. It's been big runs the world. Now, that's not the case. And so with that pedestal off, with the crown of baddest man on the planet, he's still the Gypsy King. But the crown of the baddest man, the best heavyweight, the throne of greatness that you had at your disposal, that you could sit on in high and mighty reverence, or rather high and mighty regalism. You were not just kicked off, you were ripped away. And then when you tried to sit back down on the throne, you got ejected violently with a dominating loss. Now we're looking at you and we're saying, well, you still are better than most of the heavyweights in the era today. You still are at the tops of the division. You could still climb the mountain. We would love to see you fight Dubois. Love to see you fight AJ. Love to see you fight Zhang. All of these different fights. Joseph Parker. Shoot. Deontay Wilder. Well, actually, no, not Deontay Wilder, because you already fought it 3 times. Excuse me, not Deontay Wilder. Deontay, I don't know what the world he's going to do. He's coming back, yes, but where will he come back to? Yeah, the world knows. Excuse me, we do know. He's coming back to BLK Prime. What will he be when he comes back? That's what I was trying to say. We don't know. That, we do not know. Excuse me while I quickly adjust there we go. Just the camera real quick. Want to give y'all quality. Want to give y'all the best looking camera as possible. Now again, we are a high quality production. Working within our means. Oh yes, we do. We accentuate excellence more than anything else on this show. Absolutely. Oh yes, indeed. But when but when it comes to Tyson Fury, everything that he had, he lost. It got ripped away. Now, what is the purpose of him wanting to continue his career? There is still purpose, don't get me wrong. There are still mountains to climb. There are still opportunities to take. There is still a route within 3 fights that can get you back to a championship opportunity. And yes, indeed, there is. But the issue is whether or not you are willing to take it. And right now, Tyson Fury is saying he ain't going to take it. And he also said something cryptic. What was it? Is it Tim Donahue? Tim somebody wore a mask. Now, for those of you who don't know, Tim, whatever the brother that he referenced, I can't remember his last name, but we'll call him Tim for now. Tim, over in the UK, was a known roadman or essentially robber. But he wore a mask everywhere he went, robbing folks left and right. Bing, bang, boom. Hence, that semblant or that statement was used to essentially say he was robbed. Robbed from Usyk the first time, and potentially throughout his entire career, feels like he got ripped, was cheated. But most likely referring to just those 2 fights specifically as to why he's done with the sport at this point in time. Now, with all that being said, Tyson Fury is retired. Tyson Fury is gone. Where will this retirement end? And how long is this going to last? Because like I said, this is the 4th time he's retired. This is the 4th time he's retired. This is the 4th time the brother's gotten out of here. The 4th time that Tyson Fury has said that he's done with the sport. Ridiculous, I know, preposterous, absolutely insane that somebody can quit this much and then still, hey, it's a revolving door at this point. But will it last this time? Is this really finality? Some people saying, yeah, this feels different. Me, this doesn't feel like that. Don't feel like that to me. This does not feel like that at all to me. Why? Well, I'll jump into that after first going through comments real quick. Oh, J Riggs, what's going on with you? Hello, what's going on? How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening and jumping on the bandwagon of the Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch, as we're at this fine afternoon running up on 1 o'clock. Again, we started at 12:05. Oh yeah, I told you all, we're starting on 12 o'clock. We keeping time with our time when it comes to the landscape of this show. We starting on time from here on out. It's the best of our ability. And we've been going through the ringer, going through, doing work, covering all these stuff. All this has been going on just over the past 3 days. Shoot, preposterous, ridiculous, only Tuesday. And then we already got this much fodder for news and spectacle and potential down the line possibilities. It's insane. But right now, since you're tuning in, we're talking about Tyson Fury and his retirement. Now, he's retired for about the 4th time, and in a situation where we are, at a loss. We're at a loss. And I'm sitting here saying, how long will it last? How long will we see that take place? Will Tyson Fury stay retired? And I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I truly do believe that he is not going to stay retired. And the brother will indeed go. And essentially, he'll be back. He'll be back. Why? Because the money's going to be right. The money's going to be right. The money is going to be absolutely right. The money will be, it will be so preposterous that he won't refuse it. And we know he won't refuse it because the only reason why he fought Usyk was because the money was right. Over the last couple fights, Derek Chisora, Dillian White, Usyk, it's been because of the money. It's the only reason why he's gotten back in the ring. That's it. Fought Chisora because it was an easy multi-million-dollar pay. Was he helping out Derek Chisora? I don't doubt it. They are good friends behind the scene of boxing. So perfectly fine. I don't doubt that at all. But took it because they were going to make a boatload of money. Was able to sell out Wembley with Dillian White. A washed over the hill Dillian White that honestly was waiting in the wings for a championship opportunity for a long time. I get it. But regardless of which, at that stage, why even bother? Genuine. But he fought him, made a bunch of money, and then was like, eh. And then was going to fight Usyk. Well, we thought that was going to be the next best step. Right then and there. Thought it was going to happen. Not going to do it. Fought Ngannou for a boatload of money. Then Usyk only because of a boatload of money. If it wasn't for the money being exorbitant, we're not talking about getting paid good. We're talking about getting paid exorbitantly. Well above the standard. Well above what, what would be the logical meaning or the logical payday for that fight. And the payday for that fight, logically, already was huge. Asking for $500 million, whatever the world he was asking for, preposterous. It's only been that he's fought these fights either because they're easy and they can make you money, or if there's a big risk, it's an exorbitant amount of money. If he is going to stay retired, he's leaving money on the table. And I can promise you, he's not leaving money on the table. With how he's been moving his entire career and how he's looked in these last two fights, which was, I don't care how you feel about him or how you feel about the fights as a whole, those two versions of Tyson Fury, they could beat just about every other version of heavyweight today. Those two versions of Tyson Fury could beat AJ, could beat Zhang, could beat Moses Atuma, couldn't beat anybody. Prospect or solidified contender. There was a reason why I was saying he was the second best heavyweight in the world after those two fights. Because when you watch those two fights, that Fury is able to beat everybody else in the division. It's the truth, at least for me. It may not be for you. Again, I'm not saying I'm the end all be all. I'm not the de facto opinion. But from what I went and watched, giving my best analysis possible, those two versions of Fury, the one that came forward and the one that was going and boxing with Usyk, those two could beat any of them. Because it was some of the best we had seen Tyson Fury look like in years. Genuine, from a technical perspective. So he's got the ability to go and fight whoever he would want to fight. And he could beat him too. But he's only coming back for the money. If the money isn't exorbitant, like with AJ, he's not, then he'll stop fighting. But I can promise you that at minimum, he will come back for that AJ fight. He will come back for that fight at Wembley. Because it's going to be at Wembley. He will come back for that fight to pay out potentially $200 million. Possibly. As the person. Whatever the case may be. Because AJ and Dubois sold out Wembley Stadium. That broke records. And that fight was seen as a potential mismatch for Dubois. And it was like, yeah, AJ's going to take this, at least from my perspective. Next thing you know, boom. Still, it sold out droves. Droves. There was not a seat in sight inside that stadium. Nothing but bodies. Bodies, sweat, beer, music, Sweet Caroline, and UK, English, and British people, and all walks of life, sitting there screaming their lungs out at one of the biggest upsets we had seen, not just biggest upset, the biggest upset of the year, plain and simple. So I do believe that he will come back. This retirement is not for naught. This retirement is not going to stick in the slightest. As long as that AJ fight is on the table, and I can promise you, down the line, within the future, that fight will happen. That fight will take place. That fight will indeed go through. And when it does, my gosh, you want to talk about fireworks. Because even though that fight is drastically below what we had if we had gotten it a couple years earlier, what we could have had when AJ was unified, what we could have had when AJ was moving back up after he had beaten Ruiz for the second time, or before he got beat by Ruiz the first time. Almost got my numbers mixed up. For the first time. What we could have had then, that should have been the biggest box office fight of this generation. Period. Nothing would have topped that. Nothing would have topped that. Tyson Fury versus AJ in the UK at their best for the title a couple years ago, nothing would have topped, not one thing would have topped that fight, money-making wise, hype-wise, revenue-wise. The two faces of the sport at that point in time, one was a darling that was nice, the other one was a loudmouth, braggadocious fella. And you couldn't tell me it wouldn't sell. You couldn't tell me it wouldn't work. You couldn't tell me that wouldn't have gotten everybody across the globe in their seats, whether it was at 12 o'clock over in the UK or whether it was at 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. over here in the States. Don't matter. Don't matter. But even with the steam of that fight being well pushed away from what it was, and I do mean well pushed away, it's still one of the biggest fights of the year. It's still one of the biggest fights that if it can be made, you are stupid not to make it. It is still one of the biggest fights that if it is possible, it is going to happen. Unless somebody's career is over, as in career-ending injury, that fight will happen. It will. Because there is no, and I do mean no way in the world that much money, especially on the side of Tyson Fury, is going to be left on the table. This retirement's fake, at least for the time being. I don't buy it in the slightest. I told you he would retire. I did tell you he would retire. Oh, yes, I did. And he did just that. But it's not going to stick. We've seen the same greatest hits performance before. This is the same song that charted #1 when it happened the first time, when it happened the second time, when it happened the third time. Now for a fourth time, it's happening. And guess what? Everybody's still a buzz. But it's just like the last song. It ain't the last album. Not the last song in his catalog of discography. Oh no, it's going to happen. He'll come back. And it will most likely be against AJ. Mark my words. I guarantee you. I can almost promise you it's going to happen. I'm almost assured that it's going to happen. At least in my humble opinion. But let's see what the comments have to say. Yo, what's going on? Big D's Daily, what's up with you? How you doing? Yes, sir. Daily brother, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in on the show. Glad you're here from England. Oh, I told you all, we global. Big Daily out here. We are global out in the streets of the YouTube and podcasting airspace. We are small, but we're mighty. We're tuning in. Oh, you're listening while you're listening and reading over in England. Glad I found your channel. Great energy. I'm glad that you came in and that you tuned in. I provide the best I can for the public to see and hear and listen to, and also we're available on every podcasting platform imaginable. So even if you don't have time in the immediate when the show goes live, you can listen to it when we upload it to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every major podcasting platform imaginable. So you can go back and listen to it in your car, on your job, at your school, with whatever you're doing, with family, with friends, with your girl. Don't matter who, don't matter where. This podcast and this show is a perfect setting for any given situation. Oh, yes, indeed. And no matter where you're doing, no matter what's happening, this show is the best thing that you can play in any given situation. This show is like bacon. You put bacon on anything, it will make it better. Point blank, period. This show is the bacon of sports media. You can add it on to anything. And let me tell you something right now, it will make it better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it'll make it better. we'll make it better. We'll make life better, ever better. And whether it's a little or a lot, it's gonna make it better. Absolutely. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for coming in from England. Glad this show can give you all support from where I'm from, right here in the States. Absolutely. And hey, this community is for everybody. Whoever wants to join in, you're feel free to join in. You don't gotta agree. Perfectly fine. But the goal is to learn, grow, laugh, and become a better fan and get excited about whatever the world you're a fan of. Basketball, football, don't matter. We here to do it all. Now, soccer can't really cover. Don't really know a whole lot about it, so I apologize if you all are a UK fan. I know Alex Rucker, if he's here, that brother's here. Hey, I'm sorry, Alex. Hey, I'm sorry. I want to get into it. I can't get it as easily over here in the States. And plus, I got so much of it, other stuff on my plate. I can't keep track of everything, so don't kill me next time we able to get in conversation with each other. I apologize. But regardless of which, hey, I keep as well informed as I can. But again, with all that stuff out the way, let's see what everybody else has to say. Let's see, Jay Riggs, what you got to say. I agree with you, Kiki. Since I'm a boxing fan, I'm still going to support and watch the fight indefinitely. It's still, even if you don't like it, it can be fine if you don't like the Canelo versus Crawford fight. I get it. I get why the hesitation and the trepidation for it. No question. It is completely understandable. I'm not going to push you up and say, nah, you should like or hate whatever. No, but what you should do is indeed go through and understand that this fight is a mega event that will tell the story or put a significant notch in the story of boxing in one shape or form, one way or another. Regardless of whether you feel that this is a major fight that is legitimate or a spectacle, this is one of those fights that will in some way shake up the timeline of boxing. It's going to, in some way, shape, or form. It'll be less shooken up if Canelo wins. Understandable. But it will still shake up the landscape of the sport. It will. It's like a butterfly effect. When this fight happens, the ripples of what's going to be felt, not just for their careers individually, but for the boxers surrounding them, and the fights that can potentially happen depending on the result. All of that is going to be affected by that fight. At least if I'm looking to my crystal ball of speculation. Because I don't know anything concretely. I get it. But what I can see, I feel like that's what's going to happen. So this is just too great not to miss, at least from my perspective. Let's see, Tyson looked great because he had great dance partners willing to throw down compared to being against a standstill counterpuncher. And again, that's phenomenal. And that's, honestly, that is better than the alternative. The alternative is you look good because the opponent that you were in with was hard. The alternative is that you look good in the ring because the opponent that you were fighting against is not great. Again, look, I'm sorry, I got to do it. I know that Bernard, the boxing nerd, I'm not harping on you. I'm not. I truly am not. I truly am not harping and hating on your favorite fighter. But be prepared for what I'm about to say so that you don't get hurt. This is not to critique or bash or cook Boots. But I'm going to use Boots as an example. Boots against Roman Villa looked phenomenal. He looked incredible. Was fighting slow-mo. Literally slowed down in the middle of the fight. And then almost, it's like somebody, it literally looked like a filter or like a cinematic cutscene in a boxing game. Like in Fight Night, when you would get somebody close to getting knocked out in the story mode of Fight Night, championship mode, and then you would go in and it would slow down, and then you throw your punches in slow motion, then you knock them out. That's what we saw Boots do in real life. It was preposterous. But he did it against a come-forward fighter in Roman Villa. And Roman Villa is great. Roman Villa is phenomenal. Roman Villa is as a power puncher, tough, rugged, get it. Credentials, I'm not harping on the opponent. I respect the opponent. But the issue is, Boots fought Roman Villa and looked great against Roman Villa. Boots fought Shukajan and all of a sudden looked horrible. And Shukajan gave Boots a better fight, both technically and from a overall fight perspective, as well as in the first and second fight. Oh, sorry. J Riggs, Boots is Jerron Boots Ennis. If Boots is his nickname, normally people call Boots, but Jerron Ennis. Jerron Ennis is the person I'm talking about right now. Oh, and what's going on with Craig? How you doing? Glad you're here. Again, we started at 12. Like we said, we're going to do from this point on. We keeping time, we keeping tally. But I'm glad that you're tuning on the show. We've been covering a lot of stuff in the show. Glad that you're coming in. You ain't missed nothing. We still got so much to discuss. Let's see what you got to say. Just getting on, salute to you. Do you think Crawford should challenge William Scroll for his belt at 168 before fighting Canelo? I'm going to touch on that. Oh, yes, I will. I'm going to touch on that. That's a great point. In fact, right after this, we're going into championship rounds, and I'm going to touch on that very question. It was about to be the thing I talked about before we touched on, we got into you all's question. This is perfect. Stay right here. Don't go nowhere. We're coming back to this question because I want to touch on this because that's great. And let's see, sarcasm. Okay, see, this is why I love interacting with you all. Y'all make me look like a fool, and I love it. Because I'm thinking you being serious. I thought that people didn't know. I thought that people didn't know that Boots was his nickname. So apologies. But still, if you didn't know, great. Boots is Jerron Boots Ennis, and Boots is his nickname. J Riggs, sarcasm, great, love it, thank you. Absolutely. Again, no issue here. No issue here at all. But when in terms of name 2 top 10 fighters he's fought, again, I'm not saying he's fought. We're not comparing his resume because he hasn't fought top guys. He is out and out the best 147 pounder. That's not a question. He is the best 147 pounder. All of the best immediate competition moved up and moved out. Boots, Spence, or not Boots, Crawford, Spence, all of them moved out. So I get it. He hasn't fought a bunch of people. We want him to do it. The only reason why he said he would stay at 147 was to unify. Let's make sure he keeps to his word. After he unifies or becomes undisputed, he has to move up, and there's no question. So we understand he hasn't fought anybody of top caliber from a name and status perspective. It's coming, and it needs to come now. Because if it doesn't, we're going to have a problem. We've been vocal about this. I've been vocal about this. For anybody who hasn't been on this show, be vocal about this. We still keep fighters' feet to the fire. That ain't changed. But in terms of the example I'm using for Boots, and again, prep and boxing nerd, when it comes to Boots, when he fought Roman Villa, he looked great. When he fought against Shukajan, he looked hard. Shukajan was a better opponent, and he made Boots or Jerron Ennis look worse and exposed some things about Boots. But that's a bad situation where you're fighting an opponent that makes you look good because of the dance partner. It's like with Boots. Roman Villa was a dance partner that made him look great. Tough, rugged, and wouldn't stop. He never been knocked down. But then, that didn't do good in the long run because now we see, that opponent was far and away below what he needed to do. And going up against somebody that actually has some great technical ability. Yeah, a good dance partner makes you look bad, like Shukajan. And Shukajan, I don't care, forget what people like Tim Bradley and other pundits are saying. Shukajan is a good fighter. Shukajan is a great fighter. Don't let the losses to Boots fool you. Shukajan is a great fighter. It's a phenomenal fight. He's a phenomenal fighter. Genuine. I'm not saying he's elite, but don't look at him as a scrub. He's not a scrub at all. At all. But he is a good dance partner that made Boots look bad due to the fact that he's good. And with Tyson Fury and Usyk, Tyson Fury made Usyk made Tyson Fury look good. Tyson Fury made Usyk look good because both of them fought to the best of their ability, and both of them were indeed great. And they showed the full breadth of their ability against each other because they forced both of them to use everything. That's what we want. That's a good dance partner. Somebody that brings the best out of you and forces you to elevate, not somebody that makes you look good because you can just dominate. There is a difference. And again, you can apply context to various situations, absolutely. But on the whole, on average, there is a stark difference in the two. A good dance partner that makes you look good because they are below you versus a good dance partner that makes you look good because they are on your level. Those are two different things. And with Fury, every fighter we've been saying before that was you're beating people soundly, but it's people that you are vastly better than. So you look good against them, but it's nothing great because they aren't pushing you. Now against Fury, we are still saying you look good even in the losses. So that's great. That's phenomenal. That's what a dance partner absolutely should be. That's what a dance partner absolutely should be, at least in my eyes. And so where's it? Yeah, kind of like, and Craig, you're right. Kind of like with Madrimov and Crawford. Madrimov versus Crawford. Madrimov was a great opponent that really made Crawford have to think. He had power, he had speed, had legitimate feints and incredible footwork, balance, was explosive, had all the stuff that really made Crawford have to work. Again, it wasn't the best performance by Terrence Crawford, but you saw slowly but surely Crawford stacking up the offense and the technical adaptations. So he still brought out the best in Crawford. Crawford just had to be careful with him. But to make somebody like Crawford do that is phenomenal. That's a good dance partner. Because it showed us, okay, in a bigger division, with bigger punchers, when you got to worry about power, what can Crawford do against a legitimate experienced brother, a legitimately talented brother? And he did great. Yes, he didn't knock him out. Yes, it was an incredibly close fight, but it was an incredibly close fight because the man he was fighting against was indeed a hard opponent. That is good. That's good for me. That's great. And so that is a quality dance partner. And again, it's not just about the spectacle of the knockouts or the damage. Like I've always said, the small stuff in boxing, that's what makes a fighter great or not. And when you got two fighters that can do the small stuff right, like with Madrimov versus Crawford, on top of the threat of, again, power, that also adds to the danger. It breeds to a fighter having to really dig deep. Even if it's not the most flashy type performance. There is indeed a difference in quality that you can aptly see versus aptly not see. There's a reason why we hold that fight versus Madrimov, or I hold that fight versus Madrimov in high regard, and most of the fights with Shakur not as highly regarded, at least of recently. Because there was a difference. Crawford, you saw him unraveling the layers to use everything in his tool belt to go and beat Madrimov. And by the end of the fight, okay, he took full control. You saw it, a slow buildup, a tactical affair. Shakur holds back stuff that we know can be used to beat his opponent. Crawford didn't hold back anything. He was tactical, yes, but he didn't hold back anything. So there is a difference. You can be flashy or tactical. Either way, there is a difference, and we can tell. And with Crawford and Madrimov, great dance partners. And example, Danny Garcia versus Ugas, yeah, that was bad. That was bad. Arizona Lara versus Danny Garcia. Arizona Lara knocked that brother out with a short left a jab that didn't even look powerful. And that wasn't a great win because Danny Garcia was, at least currently, looks like that brother didn't have anything. I don't know what happened with him. And so, yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And so, for me, oh, you meant Lara. I'm sorry. I thought that Ugas and Danny Garcia fought. thought that he fought. Did he not fight? Shoot, hold on. I thought that, maybe I'm misremembering. Danny Garcia fought Lara, and that looked bad. Absolutely. Danny Garcia, did he ever fight Ugas? That's actually a good question. Shoot. Maybe I'm just misremembering. Hopefully history isn't overlapping. My gosh, I'm supposed to know these things. What's going on with you, Jean-Luc? What's the word? These people trust you. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'll go and back and fact check. But regardless of which, when we're looking at quick. We got more comments. Let me see what y'all got to say. Big Daily, what you got to say? Hey, let's go. So true. You know Sweet. Of course we know Sweet Caroline. That's what y'all. That's the biggest song that you all are known for when it comes to. It is literally synonymous with boxing over in the UK. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I keep informed. I keep enthralled. I mean, I know everything about everybody, but I know that y'all are one of the most ruckus and rowdy crowds that the sport has. You all show up and show out for everybody. You're one of the best audiences for boxing on the whole. I would love it if America had that same level of zeal when it came to not just soccer, but putting it in the boxing landscape. Shoot, you take that soccer atmosphere, that boxing atmosphere, and you put it in the States, buddy, we wouldn't know what to do. It would be great. I would love it. Sadly, we ain't got it yet. Closest thing we got to that is the NBA. But regardless of which, well, boy, hopefully with these mega fights that we're getting down the line, we can get that same level of legitimate fandom that you all have on a fight-to-fight basis, which is incredible. So salute to all of you, anybody over in the UK and around the globe who's listening to the show. Also, if you would, self-promotional plug, like the stream, like the show. Let's keep pushing the algorithm. Let's keep elevating the show to make it bigger and better for everybody to listen to here. Absolutely. If you would, it would be so nice and so kind. And so, yeah. I know you loving me some bacon. Yep, I told you, show gets better and better. The more you add on bacon, the better everything gets. Oh, they can say it's not good for you if you want to. Doggone it, everybody loves bacon, and everybody loves this show. At least I'm hoping everybody loves this show. And so, yeah, but now that we're here, now that we're at this stage, we can go and talk about, let's see. Before, Craig, I see y'all coming, but we got to jump into the championship rounds because now we've covered everything I need to cover on my end of the spectrum. Now it's up to you all, the fans. And we're going to start with Craig's question that he put out earlier in the chat. But let's go through it. It is time for the championship rounds. That's right. Let's go. Yes, sir. Round 12, I guess. Championship rounds of this show. Anybody and everybody can comment on whatever you want to discuss, whatever questions, comments, debates about whatever you want to talk about. If I can discuss it, I'll discuss it. If I'm not so sure and I can't give you proper insight, well, then I'll say we got to move on. And sadly, I can't discuss it. I'll be transparent. But regardless of which, it's your time to shine. It's your time to go. It is time for everybody to turn this show into their own. Put your comments in the chat. Put your questions. Put your debates. Whether it's on boxing, whether it's on the NBA, whether it's on the basketball. Tell me, NBA is basketball. Whether it's on football and the Super Bowl or just anything abroad, comic books, video games, movies, media, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to discuss, we can discuss it absolutely. And if I got a knowledge for it, I'll put it down and we can get it going. But to get started, we're going to start with what Craig had put up in the chat earlier today before when he first came in. And that is just getting on. Well, we read it already. Do you think Crawford should challenge Williams Crawford's bet at 168 before fighting Canelo Alvarez? I do believe that he should. I believe that he should for two reasons. One, it would make the fight bigger. And we touched on this earlier because I brought this up as a question. With Crawford and Canelo, would it be better if it was undisputed? As in the opportunity for undisputed for both of them came about, let alone with Crawford owning a belt, Canelo having the unified belt, them both fighting for undisputed with Crawford moving up to 168. My gosh, incredible. Even bigger of a spectacle. It would add on to it. Let's not mince words about it. It would make for a bigger, more grandiose type performance. More grandiose type event as a whole. Absolutely. And so when we look at the landscape of Crawford versus Canelo, William Scroll, if he fought Crawford, that would be great. And Jay Riggs, I see you. I'm gonna get back to your question. Absolutely. But I did say I was gonna answer Craig's first. So let me get his first, and then I'm going back to you. But all this again is still the championship rounds. No question about it. I'm gonna try not to miss anybody's questions. Absolutely. But the second reason why it would be great is because it would give Crawford time to adapt. Like we said earlier, it would give Crawford time to really go and show what he can do at 168 against an opponent that is relatively on the bottom of the totem pole in the grand scheme of that division. Yes, he is a champion, but he's not highly rated. He isn't. Fodder for Canelo Alvarez. And while I'm not saying he's a bad fighter, but on the totem pole of elite caliber talent, he is at the bottom rung of that elite tier. He's got a belt, so he's required. He's necessary. We respect him, no question. But if Crawford fights him, it will give him time to get acclimated to 168. Give him time to get adjusted. Give him time not just to build on muscle, but to learn how to walk in the muscle. See, it's not just like if Crawford goes and fights and just balloons up and gains weight. Okay, yeah, you look the part. You're as big as Canelo. That's fine. But walking around weight and fight weight are two different things. We covered this in the past when we talked about Roy Jones Jr. as well. When you put on muscle, it's not just about putting it on. It's about being able to use it. Canelo, the threat of Canelo isn't just the fact that he's big, but he's big and comfortable. He's big, but he knows how to use his muscle. He's big and knows how to use his frame. It's like you got a new car, but somebody else, you got a new car to match another racer who's got the exact same model. So you've upgraded to what that guy has right now. Or girl, whoever's driving. But the issue is that person is accustomed to how that car drives. Let's say you have a family and you have your designated car and you got to drive your wife's car or your man's car or whoever's car you got. And it's a completely different car. Those the same year. It doesn't drive the same. It doesn't. You got to get adjusted to it because it's a new territory. Acceleration is different. The braking is different. The mirrors are different. The handling is different. Grips on the tires are different. Transmission is different. The get up is different. How long it takes to slow down, it's different. All of that is different. And you got to get adjusted to that. And you don't get adjusted just by driving it one time. With Crawford, if he moves up immediately and fights Canelo, he'll be big. Don't get me wrong. He'll be able to be himself. Absolutely. But the question is, how much of a comfortability will he have at that frame? And I don't know if he'll be as comfortable as he needs to be. If he will be as operational as he needs to be able to fight in the full capacity that his body can do. Even if it can handle it. You don't know how to handle it yet in this frame. That's where the issue lies. So it's always smarter to get a fight in where you're going to move up to before going and fighting at all. And if it was going to do it against William Scroll, great. Now, I would do it against even a lesser competition just to get warmed up at the division. But even still, opportunities there. If you're going to do it, at minimum, do it against William Scroll. Perfect time. And it adds on to the grandeur of the fight. Now, Bud beat William Scroll, a man that Canelo didn't bother fighting. Now Bud's got a belt. Now Bud is one of the kings of 168. Bud just showed he can belong, let alone he can thrive depending on how he wins. This now adds even more intrigue and even more sway to the public opinion of who can win that fight. And now everybody's up in arms. Everybody gets even more excited. It adds to the grandeur of the event. It adds to the grandeur. It adds to the spectacle. And all we love spectacle, absolutely. We need it. We got to have it. And so it's both beneficial for the fighter and for the fans and for the fight as a whole. That I would love to see for him to go to fight William Scroll. Didn't go fight at 168. If you can't beat William Squall, you ain't got no business fighting Canelo. That's the thing. Litmus test. The final litmus test to see if you truly are able to go and face Canelo. More than just a pipe dream. This is the closest one-to-one comparison. If you can do this, we'll give you the opportunity to do that without any of the he's too small accusations. Because of everything that Kiki and others brought up about the show, or on the show about that fight, potentially being something they don't want to see. If he beat William Squall, I doubt that many people would have that same notion anymore. Because now he proved himself. And when you prove yourself, now you got track record. And when you got track record, now people can latch on to a level of reputation that you have garnered. Legitimately. And now when they can latch onto a reputation that you've garnered, now there is trust. And with trust comes belief. And with belief comes hope. And with hope comes a legitimate split down the middle of whether or not you can win this fight. And now stuff gets interesting. So I would love to see that happen. Absolutely. But let's see. Now let's see. Jay Riggs, where was your question about Boots Ennis? So we can make sure we get to it. Was it this one? Was this the question? Boots after his last fight, he's going to move to 154. Was hard to move up to make. So Virgil Ortiz said, let's fight at 154. He said, backtrack, come back down to 147, and shows that he's ducking. Okay, yes. All that is true. Said he was going to fight at 154. Said he would fight Virgil Ortiz. Say he needed to move up to 154. Then didn't go move up to 154. And then was going to fight at 147. Said he was going to fight to unify. Then talks was he was going to fight against Teofimo Lopez. And that was going to be, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Horrible. Though the fight could be a good fight, the context is horrible because you're backtracking. Now, still fighting at 147. That's the minimum that we wanted to do to unify. So that's right. I'm cool with him fighting at 147 to unify. And only to unify. If it's not to unify, you better move up. But has no business moving back down. So it's still a duck of Virgil Ortiz. No question about it. It is still a duck of Virgil Ortiz. But it is at least keeping to his word for when he did change his mind, what the initial change was supposed to be. I don't like it. But it's at least somewhat a consistent level. Which is all the minimum that we're asking for. But yes, everything you're saying is absolutely right. It is indeed a duck. Absolutely. But let's see. What else do people got to say about, and again, Jay Riggs, was that the question that you had? Was that the Boots remark, or was there a different remark that you needed me to have? Or was it about the top 10 fighters that he's fought? Name 2 top 10 fighters that he's fought. Again, if this is the second, okay, so that was the one. Okay, cool. And again, this is not to critique Boots. This is not to critique and jump on him. Say that he's bad. He's great. The elevation of talent needs to be better. At this point in time, it does. So yeah, so we're good to go. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Everybody's happy. Okay, let's keep on going. What y'all gotta say in these championship rounds? Again, anybody, whatever you want to talk about, whether it's boxing, basketball, football, or anything else, if I can talk about it, I can discuss it. Even if it's outside of sports, movies, video games, cool. Cool with it. Talk about it. It's your show. Your time to shine. But let's see what you all have to say on the show. How does the fight between Virgil Ortiz and Madrimov go? Now, that's a good question. That's a good question. Oh, gosh, that's a good question. If Virgil Ortiz and Madrimov fought against each other, I would, you know what I do? I would take, it's probably going to nip me in the butt, but I'm going to take Virgil Ortiz. I would take Virgil Ortiz. And it's probably going to bite me in the butt. It's probably going to bite me in the butt, but I'm going to take Virgil Ortiz. Because I think with his style of fighting, he's going to get caught. Oh, absolutely. Madrimov is going to be able to counter that, brother. Especially with that herky-jerky style. However, it's the power and the aggression that I think is going to force Madrimov. Ortiz won't let Madrimov bounce and use those feints. He will call a bluff on every one of his feints eventually. And he'll start doing what Ortiz does, which is to get aggressive. Very aggressive. Turn this into a war like he likes to do with all of his fights. Just like the fight he had with Boja. And so I think when it turns into that, I don't know if Madrimov can win that fight. And it's not because he's not physically capable. It's not because he doesn't have the timing or speed or power to put down Virgil Ortiz if it got to that point. But it's the fact that at the end of the fight with Terrence Crawford, when Terrence Crawford got aggressive in rounds 11 and 12 and started tagging Madrimov, and he was somewhat buckling, and he was getting caught clean and wasn't able to adapt and was put in legitimate trouble, and Bud fully started taking over. Now, with that being the case, against a fighter that's coming up to your level, in terms of Madrimov coming up to you, when it comes to Ortiz fighting on Madrimov, and both of them are comfortably 154. Both of them can potentially balloon up to night of the fight 160 potentially. I don't have the direct numbers, but potentially they can both balloon up to bigger weights on an even playing field. Ortiz, if he gets to that same level of, okay, I'm starting to get your number, and I'm starting to tag you clean on the inside, now we get a situation where Madrimov's going to have to fight. And if it turns to a fight, it's hard for me to pick Ortiz not to win a fight against somebody like Madrimov. Not because Madrimov isn't great, but because if Madrimov gets taken out of that technical, unpredictable ability, similar to the likes of Boo Boo Andre, whose awkward style makes him so hard makes him hard to beat for anybody. Same thing with Madrimov. But you take him out of it, and you force it into a brawl. Now we got a conversation. So I would take Virgil Ortiz in that fight. It could bite me in the butt, and I could be completely wrong. And Ortiz, if they ever do fight, gets beat. No question. But based on that reasoning, I would take Virgil Ortiz for me. And so, what was that? Somebody said, ooh, we got people in today. I'm glad. And hey, Nikiki, glad that you're here. Glad you tuned in. Glad you're still here on the show, excuse me. And let's see, so Bud and Scroll makes sense, okay? So Bud and Scroll makes sense, and it would be something that should be a fight. So I like that. I do indeed enjoy that. Ortiz shouldn't even have had a chance to fight Madrimov. So you think it was a robbery with him and Bocha? It was, shoot, man. I can't call it a robbery. I think it was a close fight, and I'm still flip-flopping on who indeed won that fight, because I got to go back and look at it, because it was an incredible knockdown, drag-out brawl. I believe Ortiz got knocked down multiple times, but on the whole of the fight, the brother was landing some heavy leather, and it was like, when he wasn't knocked down, it was a war, a 50-50 war when Ortiz wasn't knocked down. He might have pulled some rounds out that I maybe didn't give account for, not account for enough. It's such a close fight. I got to rewatch it again. I wouldn't call it a robbery. Again, for me, I think it was an incredibly close fight. That he does need to run it back. For me, he does need to, I don't care how you feel whether it's a robbery or not. You are absolutely right. He does need to run it back. He does need to run it back, absolutely, against Bochuk at some point in time. I need to see that fight again. Just because, in my opinion, it was fight of the year. For me, it was fight of the year. Incredible fight of the year. One of the best fights of the year. Period. At minimum. So they do need to fight again. Absolutely. Let Canelo fight Bruno Siras, who knocked out Munguia, or winner of Pacheco versus Steve Nelson. See, if he could, if the fight took place in September or later on in December, yes, absolutely go through and do it. Fight Bruno Siras, even though I think Munguia and Siras already have a rematch scheduled, but fight Siras if that fight doesn't need to fall through and you can take it. Just to stay busy. Or Pacheco and Nelson, winner of that. Absolutely. But just as a tune-up fight. Just as a tune-up fight, a keep busy fight. This is the only time that for Canelo, of how he's been moving recently, that we would say, okay, cool, take a tune-up fight for the next fight. Because all the other fights that he's taken up until this point, most of them haven't been bad. But Berlanger was a slap in the face. Absolutely. John Ryder was a slap in the face. Munguia, no problem with the Munguia fight because of what Munguia was doing, where he was headed. When he moved up, the high prospect, legitimate talent. Yes, he wasn't favored, understandable, but it still wasn't a fighter that he was like, okay, yeah, the brother didn't belong because he did indeed win the Canelo sweepstakes by knocking out John Ryder. So we got to give respect where respect is due. But 2 of the 3 fights that Canelo has been in have been bad. So the only reason why I would even want a tune-up fight for this situation would be because he's getting ready to fight Crawford. And it's signed on the dotted line in ink that is happening in September and or December. That's the only reason why I would say, yeah, any of those 3, you should fight. Outside of that, if the fight is in May, don't you fight a soul until you fight Crawford. Don't do it now. Crawford, tune-up, no problem. Canelo, tune-up, you've had 2 over the last 3. You do not need to fight another bum, respectively to your ability. You don't need to fight a bum comparative to your level. No. Only you need to fight Canelo and nobody else. Point blank period. Only you need to fight Crawford, if that fight gets put in stone, signed on ink, and it's set for a date in September. No tune-up. A date in December? Sure. Tune-up for Canelo. Make it happen. But if it ain't December and it's closer to September, no. I don't want to see Canelo fight anybody. Anybody. Unless it's Crawford. But Crawford needs a tune-up for me to see the best out of Crawford. So I would want that, but not for Canelo. Or not on the side of Canelo. So that's for me. Absolutely. Virgil Ortiz owes Bochek rematch. Absolutely. Boo Boo Andre, oldest prospect. Yeah, the brother's been a prospect for, who knows how long. I don't even know when his next fight is. Has he retired or is he still fighting? I honestly do not know. I genuinely don't know. I need to look into that, actually. Because that brother should still be a threat in the division at minimum. But he ain't doing nothing. That's some shaky stuff. Some very shaky stuff. Who else gets a beat down from pillar to pillar and yet wins on decision? So yeah, so it's, again, the Bochuk fight, it is still up in the air. I got to look back at it to see how I feel about it. And so Benavidez versus Morrell, who wins? Is that the question? Hold on. The comment section got a little cut off for a minute. Let's see. Benavidez versus Morrell, who wins and why for you? Now this is great. And we have covered this in the past. We have covered this in the past. But I have David Benavidez. I got Benavidez beating and knocking out David Morrell. Because I feel that Benavidez, he's as much as, again, the background of Morrell, the Cuban background, the Cuban pedigree, the amateur record, all that stuff, how quickly he's run up through the ranks of being in the name sweepstakes of Canelo and David Benavidez. Oh, his skill sets are indeed great. His skill sets are indeed phenomenal. It is indeed great. But when it comes to Benavidez, what we've seen him do throughout his tenure in the sport of boxing, throughout his tenure coming up and facing all walks of opponent, he's added something every time. Every time. Every single time. He's gotten up from the canvas early in his career. He's gotten better at throwing combination punching. He's learned how to get people out early, like he did against David Lemieux. He went in against Boo Boo Andre, was able to learn how to deal with awkward aggression and time what seems to be untimable timing. He's learned also how to finish the show and be more defensively responsible every single fight. He's learned also how to fight out of the clinch in an even more destructive manner like he did against Caleb Plant. And has continued to use that at an even better rate throughout his entire tenure of 168, now moving up to 175. He has also continued to evolve defensively from the standpoint of when you saw him fight against Gvozdyk, what happened? The man used more offensive tools than we've ever seen in his career. Was using better head movement than we've ever seen. Using better, not just better distance management and footwork, but also was able to do it for the entirety of the fight, even when he got tired. And he did get tired in the late rounds of Gvozdyk. He did. And still he was doing it. He was staying true to all the proper defensive techniques. And he added new techniques. Not only the brother's known for just a high guard, but he added a cross guard, old school cross guard to his game. Like with Joe Frazier or Archie Moore or George Foreman in the second half of his career. This is great. Muhammad Quasi added that defensive repertoire. Added upper body movement at a better rate. Added so many nuanced things. Again, small stuff. Dedication to constant head movement. Dedication to keeping your head off the center line. Better combination punching. And on top of with this fight with Gvozdyk, he learned what it meant to pace himself. Because he tried to keep the same high volume and aggression that he kept at 168. But he got tired at 175. But even still, he tried to adapt and use better combinations, more, I don't want to say quality, but more precise combinations against Gvozdyk as the fight went on, while still willing to push himself past where his stamina was at that point in time. And now from that, he's learned how to manage his stamina at this new weight class. Everything that we've seen about Benavidez has gotten better and better and better. With David Morrell, I didn't see that much vast improvement from 168 to 175 against his respective opponent. That's not to mean he's not great. No, he's still great. But it's the evolution that I saw from both of them when they both moved up. It was different, starkly different. And because it's starkly different, that the dedication again to small stuff, that's what wins fights. That's what makes greats great. And that is what's going to be the difference maker between Benavidez and David Morrell. They can both bang. They can both fight. But on a technical level, Benavidez does it better. For me. And because of that, and because of what he's going to learn and use in the second fight, like with stamina, like getting more acclimated to 168, like understanding how to pace while still being aggressive, while still being as even better defensively than we saw him against Gvozdyk. And he did that because more damage is coming his way. So he didn't run. He learned how to fight coming forward while still being defensively responsible at a better rate than what we see with David Morrell. So no, I don't think Morrell's going to be able to win. He can win, but because of all those things, I don't think he will. Now I think it'll be David Benavidez winning in the same fashion as we always see him do, brutalizing and bloodying his opponent, breaking them down to where he breaks them, period. Cuts, bruises, swelling, just an overwhelming avalanche of outright pain. That's what he's going to be. And that's what's going to take him out. And it's just like in those other fights. By round 9, you're going to see him fully take control. For me, round 9, fully take control. And then boom, get him out of there. That's what I think. The ref's going to stop the fight. Or he just gets put down and his body can't work no more. Stop the fight, retired on the stool, and or outright KO'd. That's what I think is going to happen. But I believe I broke this down also earlier on a past stream in a past show. You can go watch it absolutely if you want to get the analysis. And we'll probably break it down again because I can't remember if I did it anyway. And as the time builds up more and more, closer and closer to, I believe, February, we're going to talk about that fight more often. It's going to be great. Phenomenal. Absolutely. But that's who I got winning this fight. At least for me. And so, and so let's see what else people have to say. And see, Kiki, I don't think it's robbery. Outside of knockdowns, you think Ortiz won most of those rounds. And also you think Madrimov is a very one-dimensional fighter. Now again, that one dimension ain't bad. It's not bad. Genuine. The one dimension isn't bad. It's not at all. It's just a matter of when you get taken out of the element, what are you? And I think we saw a semblance of that when Crawford started taking control in the late rounds against Madrimov. When he was starting to crack him and legitimately hurt him on the inside with short shots within the clinch or right head to head with each other. Now, that can be a problem, especially when that footwork starts going away, like we saw against Crawford. Again, nothing with Ortiz. That can when you become flat foot with Ortiz, but if you ain't Boachuk and you giving a knockdown drag out brawl, it's gonna be tough. So I don't know. It's not that the one trick is bad. It's that when that one trick starts to fail or becomes non-usable, what are you? That's the thing that we got to see. And so yeah, you think he beats him easy? Woo! Now that's hot. That's a hot take. I don't know about easy. I can see the knockout. I can see the stoppage. But I don't know about easy. I got to disagree with you on the easy. I think it's going to be incredibly close and competitive. It's going to be that 7th round and on. If it gets that far, that's going to really dictate who wins that fight for me. But again, whether you agree or not, it's going to be a phenomenal fight regardless. And I want it to happen. If it isn't already announced, I can't remember if it's announced or not. If it isn't already announced, phenomenal. If it ain't, it needs to be announced already. Yeah. Morrell wins big against Benavidez, but only if he hurts Benavidez in the first 4 rounds. If he doesn't, then I'd side with Benavidez. Okay. So that's how you feel. Okay, I can see it. I can understand the power of Morrell is going to be something that is indeed incredible. Now, I will say the caveat, 168 power, 175 power for both fighters wasn't the same. With the added weight, added mass, added durability that gets added onto it when you move up in weight. Now, you are genuinely at a situation where it's gonna be something. He could win, or it could not take effect. That's the question. How's the power going to be at an elevated weight against each other with both people's durability now raised because of more mass that you can add on to, more weight to cushion the blow, more size to help act as a buffer for whatever he lands. It's gonna be interesting. I can't wait for it. And what's going on? What is it? Albuga? Is that how you say his name? Booga? We'll say Booga for short. But Al Booga, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the show. Appreciate you joining in on the live. Oh, and Jay Riggs. But wait a minute. You're leaving, you're heading out. Well, appreciate you joining in. Glad that you enjoyed the show. Appreciate you tuning out and with the great dialogue and questions. Hey, we still have more to come. Come Thursday, trust and believe. Be back here. We're still going to have more to cover on the world of boxing and beyond, like the NBA and others on this show. Keeping up with breaking news, breakdowns, predictions, debates, talks, all that stuff. And of course, driven questions and driving the show with you, the fans. Absolutely. But let's see what you guys say. Canelo always fights in May and September. Yeah, that is his bread and butter, particularly Cinco de Mayo. So I want to see if this fight gets made potentially on Cinco de Mayo. If Turkey really wants to make the biggest event possible for one of the biggest fights in his short, but at this point in time, incredible promoting career. If he could get it at Cinco de Mayo, my gosh, that would be phenomenal. And what I'm hearing is that within the coming days and or weeks, schedule's going to be put out for what Turkey's got at least for the first half of the year. Beyond just Bivol Beterbiev and that undercard as well. And if that's the case, mark my words, if it's as hyped up as the ruminations are saying it's going to be, get ready for one of the greatest years that we've had in boxing, period, for the modern day. And we went through 2023 when this whole turnaround started, which was incredible. I'm excited. I can't wait. And listen, Munguia, Berlanga, and Ryder are decent defenses. And now I understand what you're saying. Munguia, good title defense. Absolutely. Ryder, I can't say that that's a good title defense, not because the opponent didn't put up a better fight like Berlanga, but because the quality of opponent versus what was completely being mandated and asked for by everybody in boxing. No. Munguia proved himself, earned the shot, got it against Ryder. The reason why Munguia was seen in my eyes as a good performance was because, or was a good fight to take, was because Munguia had knocked out Ryder, who got beat by Canelo. But Ryder, before fighting Canelo, wasn't seen as somebody that was highly rated. It was seen as somebody who was supposed to give a good win on a hometown tenure at Canelo's home stadium, I believe in Guatemala. And so that was supposed to be a fight that Ryder was brought in, a tough opponent, yes, but to be fodder for a great event on it to crescendo a night of a homecoming for Canelo. But that didn't happen. He put up a better fight. So he earned respect before Canelo brought up some concerns. And while Canelo beat him, Canelo wasn't looking at his best against Ryder, especially when it was a situation where he couldn't get him out of there. So it was detractions, because this opponent you should not be struggling with. He was brought on to get beat. Now, Ryder putting on a better performance, fights against Munguia. Ryder's got clout. Munguia's got to prove himself against Ryder. He does that. Now, okay, let's see what he can do against Canelo, because this brother survived against Canelo. You put Ryder out against Munguia. Munguia gets Ryder out of there, proves himself, validates Munguia coming into the fight, but doesn't validate what Ryder was when he came into the fight. Because what Ryder was, again, was fodder when he was brought in. Berlanga, when he came into that fight, fought better. But Berlanga was not a good fighter when we all saw that fight being made. We hated that fight when it was made. We despised that fight when it was made. That fight had no business being made. We all didn't want it at all. But it happened. And because it happened, we couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it at all. And so because of that, what do we all say? He fought a bum building up to the fight. Because Berlanga had showed nothing. Now that Berlanga showed something against Canelo actually inside the ring, we give him respect. But we don't give Canelo respect for fighting somebody that we all previously said and fully agreed on did not deserve a shot, nor did not belong in the ring. So that's why there is a difference between the two, and why I can vouch for Canelo, or I can vouch for Berlanga, but I can't vouch for Ryder. Oh, excuse me, I can vouch for Munguia, but I can't vouch for Ryder and Berlanga as quality or decent defenses. They were better than expected from a fight standpoint, but from the competition that was being fought against, it's not the same. It's not where it should have been. It's not what coming into the fight. It's not what should have been expected and what was expected for Canelo at that point in time. At least for me. But isn't a good defense though. He's not done anything to deserve a fight at 168. He has the reason why this fight contextually is an anomaly. This fight contextually is different from anything else because it is, from what I gather, and for me, widely accepted that Canelo fighting Crawford outside of Canelo fighting David Benavidez is one, the fight everybody wants to see. And two, because Canelo has cleaned out everybody else at 168 and he won't fight anybody at 175, at least not Bivol, he won't rematch Bivol or Beterbiev. Definitely ain't fighting Beterbiev, and will never fight David Benavidez. Most likely. We want to see it happen, but he ain't fighting David Benavidez, even when David Benavidez moves up. Now, the only viable fight is potentially a dream match with the one man that can actually fulfill the imagination and beat, or not even beat, at least compete against Canelo in the eyes of the public because of what he's done in the past. Moved up to 135, moved to 140, moved to 147, has beaten the heavy hitters every single which way, all throughout the tenure, crescendoing with beating Errol Spence dominantly. And we thought that was impossible. Then goes and fights Magimov and beats him in the first fight up. A brother who, again, was an incredibly dangerous champion. though he had only had 10 fights. His amateur background is incredible. And he was proven. He was real. And Crawford beat him in his first fight up. All of that, the track record of his resume, gave us the green light to solidify him as if one man can do the impossible, it would be him. Hence, if that fight can happen, though it's a lofty goal, we would want to see that fight. Absolutely. This isn't like with Charlo. Charlo, for 2+ years, didn't fight anybody. And even in the years that he did fight, hadn't shown himself in the slightest to be anyway on the level of Canelo. Yet he fought him and then phoned it in. Canelo won't phone it in. Crawford won't phone it in. None of them are going to phone it in against each other. Crawford has the IQ to be able to make a game plan to win and has the ability potentially to actually be able to win. Charlo hadn't shown that before and didn't show it then and didn't show anything to improve in the 2 years that he was gone from the sport. So it was all a downhill sled that ended in catastrophe because he didn't even try. That's a completely different situation. This man in Crawford has shown that the reputation that he's garnered is real. And the ability to elevate and accomplish above weight classes, it is possible. Because now we beat a man in Madrimov who, if Charlo fought Madrimov at 154, Madrimov is killing Charlo. I believe that wholeheartedly. Madrimov's killing Charlo if that happens. No question. In my mind, no question. Then and now, Madrimov's killing Charlo if they fought against each other at 154. Absolutely. That is why with Canelo beating Madrimov, on top of everything he did from 135 to 147, now we have credence to say, okay, I guess one of the best and physically gifted at 154 and talented also. You handle your business against an awkward style that makes everybody else look bad or fight below because of how herky-jerky and strange it is. You beat him, which was incredibly tough. And you looked, from a technical perspective, you look good doing it. So now, maybe this guy isn't as impossible to reach if you go and fight against Crawford or if you go and fight against Canelo. So there is hope and legitimate intrigue because of a proven track record that has transcended divisions. And every buffer that we need to see if it's possible has given us credence to say, okay, we may think that you're going to lose, but that doesn't change that this fight isn't something that is viable. It doesn't. It isn't something that is, okay, if it did happen, it would be, undeserved. No, it would be deserved because everything else that he did, he's pound for pound top 3 in the world. One of the biggest reasons why he's pound for pound is moving up and challenging every op imaginable. Because of that, this is part of that proving ground. And if you can prove that you can handle yourself at 168, because you've done it at 135, 140, 147, and 154, if Charlo moved up from 154 to 168 to be able to fight Canelo, just to get the opportunity, then regardless of how we feel about what is going to happen in the fight, you deserve it leagues more than him. At least the opportunity to go and achieve because of what you've done in your career. So yeah, I think he's proven to at least he deserves a shot. You can say he's going to get knocked out. Perfectly fine. You can say he's going to lose. That's your opinion, and I completely understand it. You can say that he is going to get whitewashed. Completely justifiable in your opinion. But you can't deny that him being undeserving, that's not something you can say. Because everything contextually surrounding the fight, surrounding Crawford individually, justifies that, yeah, if anybody has the ability to earn a shot at a fight, it would be him. It would be him. It would be. For me, it would be him. Because we would be saying if Tank fought Crawford at 147, moving up from 135 to 147, right after Crawford beat Errol Spence, Would we be not wanting that fight? Would we not be saying that, yeah, Crawford, Tank deserves that opportunity? Because he's better than everybody else in the division and has proven what he is, especially at that point in time, off the backs of beating Ryan Garcia, with the track record of beating Mario Barrios already. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, it's deserved. At least for me, it's deserved, in my opinion. But yeah, Craig, you're heading back to work. Appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you tuning in to the show. Glad you joined in. Glad you jumped up. Glad you're here. And glad you came through. Appreciate what you got going on. Hopefully you'll be back. And hopefully everybody will be able to tune in still on Thursday. But again, we coming up on 2 hours, so we're getting ready to wrap it up. Let's see. Bud's going to beat Crawford. Hey, I completely understand. I completely get the sentiment. You can have it. It's going to be a lofty goal. I'll tell you that. We're going to break down the fight once it gets fully announced, trust and believe. But I completely understand if you got Bud beating Canelo. It's possible. Do I think it's likely? I don't know. My gosh, everything's got to go right. Crawford's going to have to be perfect. But it's possible. If anybody can do it, it would be him. If anybody can do it, it would be him. Crawford's a bigger test than all three from a technical perspective. Absolutely. No question. No question. From a technical perspective, yes. From an IQ perspective, from a boxing standpoint, definitely. From a size standpoint, no. No. He's not bigger than Berlanga. Especially Berlanga night of the fight. And Berlanga, again, is a bum of a fighter. He proved himself to be more in the fight with Canelo, but Berlanga's still a bum of a fighter. He's less of a bum, but going into that fight, oh yes, he was a bum going into that fight. But size-wise, especially what he ballooned up to, oh, he was huge. Huge. And still Canelo was able to handle his business. So he's not the bigger test from a size standpoint. But from a boxing standpoint, Joshua, he is indeed probably the best test he's ever faced outside of Bivol. Genuinely. Outside of Bivol. And Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. If I go through Bivol, Floyd Mayweather, and if this fight with Crawford goes, probably Terrence Crawford. In terms of the three hardest fights from a IQ perspective, from a pure boxing perspective. Yeah, this is probably going to be his toughest test. But earned the fight because of his name and what he did to Spence. Yeah, absolutely. Earned the fight because of his name, what he did to Spence and Madrimov. You can't leave off Madrimov. As well as what he's done to Kell Brook, what he's done to Amir Khan, what he did at 135 as well as 140 and 147. The whole tenure, that 11 knockout fight streak, him knocking out Sean Porter, stopping Sean Porter immediately almost in round, 11? And so like everything in his career based on top of the Spence win and Madrimov win has now made the door possible to be able to say it's not completely out the question that this fight can happen. It's not completely out the question. So, hence, people want to see it. And when the people want to see it, that's the biggest thing. Give us what we want to see. And that's the fight we want to see. If it ain't Canelo and Benavidez, it's Canelo and Crawford. That's the fight we want to see. Outright. Do you want to fight? Do you want him to fight Jamal Charlo or whichever Charlo's at 160? The Charlo brother at 160? Do you want him to fight the Charlo at 154? Do you? Do you want him to fight Tim Sue? Do you want him to fight Murder? What's his name? Is it Bakram? Yeah, Bakram. Bakram Murtazali, who just destroyed Tim Sue. You want him to fight him? I wouldn't be opposed to it. Absolutely, that would be great at 154. I would love to see that fight. But on the whole, the biggest outcry right now is Crawford versus Canelo. And so you can't overlook that, at least for me. At least for me. But to beat Canelo, you must be a thinker. Charlo is a good thinker, but lacks the fire. Bud is a better thinker and has more fire than Charlo. Bud may not win, but it will be entertaining. And absolutely, that's the thing. Even if he loses, if he puts up a good fight, it's not going to be bad for anybody. Even if he loses, it's not going to be bad. It's going to be incredible. And if he wins, preposterous, ridiculous, insane. But a notch in history. And so even the bad outcomes of this fight are good. Canelo beats if Canelo beats Crawford, best case scenario is it's a knockdown drag out brawl that he wins, and it's like, oh my gosh, what a win for Canelo, and what a fight by Crawford. He is indeed one of the greatest we've seen in history, and it elevates both of them. Canelo handles Crawford with ease. Well, Canelo, you fought against one of the best in the world, and you beat him like you're supposed to. You prove just how great you are, and why you're a step above everybody else at 168. No question. And what happens? He doesn't get diminished. He gets elevated slightly. And Crawford goes, you tried to fight Canelo, you lost. It was too much of a jump for you, too big, whatever the case may be. But either way, you lost to a great fighter, but you attempted greatness. We don't knock that at all. The only loss you have in your career is against Canelo. But outside of that, you've been nigh perfect against everybody from 135 to 147 and 154. Incredible. What do you do next? We want to see. If we see Canelo lose and Crawford win, well, if that's the case, then Crawford, brother, you just accomplished the impossible. You did the incredible. You have etched your name as one of the greatest all-time boxers in history, period. Somebody's getting bounced because of this achievement. Somebody's getting moved out of the all-time great conversation. Not great, not GOAT conversation. We're not talking about top 10, but in the all-time great boxing historical context, somebody's getting moved out the way. You have officially reset the standard for what is and isn't an all-time great fighter if you do indeed accomplish this. Because we've never seen somebody do something like this. Not move up and win. Yes, we've seen people do that. But we're talking about move up, win, and beat the best at that division immediately at this drastic of a weight. We didn't even see Roy Jones do this. Roy Jones moved up, going up the weight classes, inevitably getting to heavyweight, and he fought against Ruiz. Won as a champion. Phenomenal. Loved it. Incredible. Not many boxers could do that, period. He is one of the greatest in history. He is one of the GOATs in boxing, Roy Jones Jr. But we will look at him completely different. If we saw Roy Jones Jr. go and beat in that run at heavyweight, he went and beat Lennox Lewis at that point in time for the heavyweight championship. I would probably be talking about him as the greatest boxer of all time. If he went into that, that's a completely different threshold of greatness. That's what we're seeing from Canelo or from Crawford. If Crawford moves up and beats Canelo at 168, the best 168 pounder, pound for pound number one of the greatest super middleweights ever, currently still in his prime, one of the greatest Mexican fighters we've seen in history, and has ruled the division for 3+ years with no equal outside of David Benavidez, and you beat him, then doggone it, what else can we say except for that's something we've never seen before? We ain't seen that. We haven't seen that. Not that. That is preposterous. That is ridiculous. That is insane. That is stupid. The likes of which is nigh incomprehensible. That's a level of crazy that we haven't seen, shoot, since people like Henry Armstrong, Jack Dempsey, some ludicrous, preposterous type of grandeur. We haven't seen that before. That's the bold-faced truth. And because of that, the table gets reset. The bar gets changed. The bar gets reevaluated. The standard gets reworked. That's what the ramifications are for this fight with Crawford versus Canelo if Crawford wins. Let alone if he knocks him out, my gosh. He knocks him out. He goes from all-time great in some people's eyes to potentially GOAT conversation in all of boxing history. Now, the all-time moniker isn't enough anymore. It's not just top 50 or top 25 or top 75, depending on how big your list is for all-time great status in the whole of boxing. But in terms of GOAT, he knocks out Canelo at minimum. Brother, we're having GOAT conversations now. We're having top 10. Does he belong there or not? Because what he just did, I haven't seen, if I'm going through my lexicon of boxing knowledge, I don't think I've seen anybody do what we potentially could see Crawford do. If it ends in a KO, that would be ridiculous. That's not normal for anybody of any weight class. That's not normal at all. So I would have to say, this is, ramifications of this fight are nigh incredible. And anybody who wants to go along for the ride, whether you want it to happen or whether you don't, it's witnessing history. And I'm never going to miss witnessing history, especially when the ramifications are this much skewed as a monumental shift in the makeup and thought process of boxing standards. Could be incredible. It could be phenomenal. It could be I'm just hyping up the fight too much. Who knows? But all I know is right now is I can't miss opportunity. And if we can get it, if we can make it happen, well, let's make it happen. Just to see what's going to happen. Because I'll tell you what, I'm seated and I'm ready. Primarily ready. See what we got going on. But with all that being said, it's been 2 hours and 8 minutes. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say on the show? Because I think we're getting ready to wrap it up. We've covered about everything that we can. It's been an incredibly productive and phenomenal show. We've talked about Devin Haney. We've talked about Ryan Garcia. We've talked about Terrence Crawford and Canelo. Whether or not both of those fights would happen or will they not happen. The likelihood of them happening in September or December, respectively, with Terrence Crawford and Canelo, and at all with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. It depends on the ability for Ryan Garcia to agree to whatever testing that's being done, as was being reported as of right now. Things may have changed in the makeup of this show, and I may be behind, and we may see something happen that, my gosh, everybody has shifted, and all these fights just got agreed to right now. My word, if that did happen, well, we'll update it on Thursday when we come back. But if ain't nobody else got anybody, if nobody has anything else that they want to say, and if everybody's got all the questions and debates out of their system, well then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show, going through and about your day, making this the best day possible. We've had a phenomenal show. We've had a phenomenal time. It has been great and wonderful. All the views, all the tuning in, everybody from across the globe has been tuned into this show, and we are growing ever more, ever present, ever rising as an empire that is going to eclipse the globe when it comes to the best show in all the world. But I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts on what you thought about the show in the comment section once we end the stream. Like the video, share the show with everybody that you can. Spread the word about the show. We'll be back on Thursday, same time, same place, same avenue. We're available on every podcasting platform. Rate us 5 stars there. Peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. See you all on Thursday.